my name is Jenna Bosiger, and thank you for watching my Cryptid's YouTube channel. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe because I really do appreciate your support. So on this video, I want to continue where I left off with my cryptid research that I was doing back in 2013 through 2015. And I want to share the evidence that I found of an underground in Hemet that I was led to from doing that field research. So a quick recap of where I left off is that I just found this new hotspot and I was finding evidence of there being nocturnal activity, and I was going like several times a week, so it was easy for me to see the changes that were being made by, you know, the creatures that were going through there at night because I was going there so often. And it was a very, very, very scary place. And every single time I went there, I had to fight the fear. And eventually, I would always leave because I couldn't take it anymore. I would just get so scared. The farther upstream I would go, the more fear I would feel. It was really hard to stay in this place. And in the next video, I'll talk about how all that fear was justified when I come to the kill field. But even before that, I, was going very slowly, cautiously, and being very observant when I went up the riverbed. I started noticing nests again, which is something that I had noticed from my previous hotspot. They all seemed like, as the centers, there could be an underground. And then I started getting this sense that they were in these nests during the day sleeping, probably had some sentinels guarding the entrances, which, on a side note, this is the Whistleblower, which is related to this area. I'll tell about it later, but the definition of the Whistleblower is to guard the entrances to the underground kivas. And I want to share the evidence that I found that I was led to from doing that field research. Canyon walls that made me just wonder if I would be able to look inside. What would I see? Would it be just this massive room, or would there be caves in there or an underground? And that is the only reason that I went from the field work to the armchair to do the research on the internet to see if Hemet even could support an underground environment, if the geology would support that. My field research is perfect for an underground. One of the features of the San Jacinto Mountains that makes them very unique is that they shoot right up out of the ground, very vertically, very steep, all of a sudden. There's not like a gradual ascent. There's actually an underground river in Hemet. There is an underground in Hemet, and they also made an underground in Hemet with tunnels leading from here to Palm Springs, and that's for water. Found this proposal for an underground complex laboratory from the University of Irvine. It's a very detailed proposal full of facts and data and how they're going to do it, how much it's going to cost, where it's going to be, what it's going to look like. I mean, they put time and money into this proposal. They're ready to go. They're ready to do this, and they know how, and this is how they're going to do it. And it's very detailed. And then what? No mention of it. So just no mention of it. No mention. Was it done? Was it not done? All signs point to yes. I had collected all of these articles and stuff a long time ago. I didn't find them recently. When I did do a search on the Hemet Underground recently, the first 10 pages at least were all about Pokemon Underground. And then after that, it just became very random and stuff. And I wasn't able to really find anything that like the stuff I had found before when I searched in like 2013 back then. All of this stuff came up. So basically, a lot of it's been buried. This came up. Now, a very reliable source here in the Inland Empire is the Pacific Empire News, PE News, okay? Very reliable. And they come up with this article. The title of this article, Vast Underground Military Complex and Government Testing Facility Discovered Under Hemet, Officials Confirm. So, let's get into it. This is a long article, very detailed. I'm just going to read you some of this. Hemet, Less than 1 day after the discovery, what has been described as a vast underground military complex and government testing facilities, officials from the city of Hemet, March Joint Powers Authority, and Hemet Ryan Airport are scrambling to explain the presence of a long-abandoned military complex. Crumbling network of tunnels, supply warehouses, research center, and testing facility. The type of testing is yet to be determined. It's from the World War II era underground railroad system. Hemet Police Chief David Brown and March's JPA confirmed April 2nd. So you get the idea. Okay, so that was obviously a hoax, and it was dated April 1st, 2016. That's not all. Hemet Ryan Airport was built in 1940, and it was built as a training facility for pilots for World War II. That's what it was built for. So there are a lot of rumors that there is some strange testing that was going on and that was built underneath this airport. UFO whistleblower Phil Schneider was an engineer working on the construction of the building of these underground military labs. He was involved in a firefight, according to him, while working on the Dulce underground military lab. He was one of 3 survivors in this firefight where 66 people died. He's all scarred up, missing fingers from it, and he has a lot of credentials that he really did work there. This really happened. And then he goes on to say, he accidentally broke into a wall of one of the lower level labs. And in these military labs, the very lowest level, they have aliens testing on humans. And then above that, they have humans testing on aliens. These are very, very, very secret. This is what they say they're doing there. This is what the rumors are. And this is what he said. They're jointly operated alien, human, and alien underground laboratories. He described the aliens as being either ancient Earth aliens or, aliens from other planets. But the fact that he did specifically mention ancient Earth aliens, I'm pretty sure he was talking about reptilians, dinosaurs, ascendants of the dinosaurs, so to speak, that have been living underground and that have a lot of knowledge of Earth's history and have survived maybe more than one catastrophic event, mass extinction that took place on Earth by going underground. So Phil Schneider was on a tour. He had been on tour for 2 years. He was on a tour talking about these underground military complexes that are all across the United States and the things that they're doing in these labs. And he was afraid he was going to be murdered for it. He made it very clear that he was afraid. And if he did commit suicide, it was not suicide. He was murdered. Sure enough, his fears came true. He was found with a rope tied around his neck 3 times. It was declared a suicide. His ex-wife, Cynthia, she went through a lot to prove that he was murdered. And she also said that she believed the main reason that he started going on tour and talking about this was because his best friend, Ron Rumel, who was a UFO whistleblower who was going on tour and talking, opening people's eyes to this government cover-up, he was found dead in a park. They claimed it was a suicide, and they claimed that he had shot himself in the mouth. And he was murdered. I'm just going to give you the facts. He was found with a rope around his neck 3 times, and he had said multiple times he was afraid of being murdered. Okay, so let's move on to this simple map that I found when I was doing my research on the Hemet Underground. Hemet is not a well-known place. Nobody talks about it. And so for it to be on a map with these other 2 cities, I think there's something to it. And so I decided to look at what these other 2 cities might possibly have in common with Hemet. So the first thing, Westminster, Colorado. Put that in the Google Sky Maps, and oh my gosh, Westminster is directly next to the Denver International Airport. And right away, I know that the Denver International Airport has a notorious reputation for having an underground there. And I think one of the largest military underground complexes in the United States. And I don't really want to go into that as much as I just kind of want to make a couple comments about the artwork that's on display there. For one, there are a lot of signs that the Illuminati are in charge of either building this building, or there's some sort of ownership that they're showing over this building, over the airport, and it was built in 1994. And I want to comment about the artwork because, for one, Illuminati is known for flashing around a lot of symbols. There's plenty of rumors about the Illuminati, and so for them to be putting this artwork up in the public, in the Denver airport, where the symbolism, it's not clear what side. I mean, I'm looking at these images of women in coffins, and I'm thinking this is in an airport where people are going to be already maybe in a higher state of panic, maybe afraid of dying. I don't like flying. And then, you know, this picture in the upper left corner of the woman holding a kachina, you know, she looks like a demon. And again, this person in the middle here looks like a demon with the eyes like that. And then we have more kachina artwork, and the symbolism is very unclear. But for them to be using symbols of Nazism, of Nazis, and world wars, and famine, and death, and destruction of mankind, I really have to question. Okay, and then this picture of a jaguar, to me, if you zoom out, it looks like a sacrifice. I'm sorry, it just does. And there's like animals in cages and boxes. They look like they must be dead. And it's unclear what the symbolism means. It's unclear what side. The artwork obviously is going to be very controversial. And so for them to not make it clear what side of the fence they're on, and then have this Illuminati symbols, have the reputation of the underground, and Phil Schneider even talked about the Denver airport and talked about the reptilians, and they even have this one advertisement here of a reptilian. And it's like they already know there's rumors about this kind of thing going on there, so they're either playing on the rumors as like a joke, or it's desensitization. I really have to question it. So moving on, Next we have Zanesville. And you know, I don't know anything about Zanesville, so in the search I put in Zanesville Underground. And Zanesville is actually really well known for its underground. The Underground Railroad. Apparently, the history is that there were two rival cities, Zanesville and Putnam. Zanesville was pro-slavery and Putnam was, anti-slavery. And so even though these cities were next door to each other, there was an underground railroad that was being used to try to get to Putnam. You know, nobody wants to be stuck in Zanesville. So, they hid in the caves, and apparently there's a lot of underground caves there and an entire tunnel system. And I'm thinking a lot more than just that. Just the fact that it's so well known for its underground, right away that came up. The other thing that came up that it's known for is its very strong presence of the Templars, the Illuminati, going way back. And this is inside of the old original Templar. You can see that this building, there was a lot of money put into this building. They were making a claim to this location and to this area, and they were on the pro-slavery side. Also, this year, that building burnt down, along with a lot of history in it. And I don't particularly trust anything that the Illuminati have to share with us because, they're just all about keeping secrets and using symbols in public to kind of mock us for not knowing what they're talking about or what they're referring to, what the symbols mean. But, so then I decided to put Putnam in Google Sky Maps to see exactly where it was, and I found it very interesting to find out that there is no longer a city of Putnam. Zanesville absorbed it, which is like telling me that, did they win that battle with slavery? I mean, I tried to kind of go a little farther and look up, what happened to Putnam. And, it's just buried. One of the reasons it's buried is because there's Putnam County in Ohio. So when you try to put in Putnam City, everything comes up Putnam County. And I find all that very interesting. But all three of these places, what they're known for is having well-known underground facilities. And I do believe they're all connected. The other thing that I found out about Hemet that I couldn't find any information about at all, anywhere, was the history of the underground downtown. So every building in Hemet on Florida Street, which is the main street, used to be a bank. They had banks. Every building now, you can look at it and see that it used to be a bank. And there's just banks. And there was more cash in Hemet at one time than there was in Wall Street. And it was a place where everybody was keeping huge amounts of money. And so at the basements of all of these banks, there's entrances to an underground that has tunnels connecting all of the buildings on Florida Street. And who knows what else is under there. And there's this one story that I read about this girl. She was working at the Ace Hardware, which used to be a bank. And she was in the basement and saw a door. She opened the door and it opened up into this dark, dank underground. And she said she heard a growl, and she said that it smelled really horrible and that it was so scary. She said she was just overcome with sheer terror, and she slammed the door closed. So yeah, there's no information that I could find about the banks. However, I did buy this shirt in Hemet, and if you look closely, okay, so now zooming into this shirt, You can see it says welcome to Hemet. And this is along Florida Street, which is the main street. And every single building is a bank. And if you zoom in, you can see bank, 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 all the way to the end. This shirt, though, is all these banks here. And just going to prove the point and the story that I had heard about all these banks being connected. So that's going to do it for this episode about the Hemet Underground. I think it's really interesting, like I said, the way that I was led to all of these strange stories about the Hemet Underground. I think there's something here because in my field research, the evidence pointed to there being an underground. And then I went to the internet and the evidence points to there being an underground. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to making more videos. So please like and subscribe. And I have a big announcement to make. She's getting a puppy. I'm getting a baby puppy. So I'm going to be documenting that. And I'm going to name the puppy Loki. And I plan on doing some research about Loki, there's a lot of documentation about this character actually really having existed. And I'm very interested in the Norse mythology, a battle against gods and giants. And I find that fascinating. So I'm really excited to get Loki. And Loki is half German Shepherd, half Malinois. And I got a phone call out of the blue, unexpected, asking me if I wanted a puppy. And it was from the person that I got timber from. So, of course I said yes. I'm going to be documenting all of that and how Waldo and Loki get along. And it's going to be really a lot. And I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I have to refer to my list, but I have a long list of cryptids. So, I've got a lot to report on and a lot to research, a lot of videos to make, and hopefully you guys will appreciate them and like them. All right, I guess that's it for now. Until next time, bye!